Great. Okay, let's get started here. Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ed Sonnen. I'm from the Medina County Democratic Party. Hope you don't hold that against me. Thank you for joining us for this bipartisan event this evening as we discuss critical rural issues facing our rural communities. Now, before we go any further, there's, of course, dignitaries here that are going to speak, but there's some other dignitaries here that are not going to be speaking. And if at this time they'd like to stand up, for example, I see Mr. Lutz. Would you like to stand and just recognize? Okay, this is Mr. Lutz. He's the county commissioner, judge. Okay, county judge. Okay. Anyone else here that is not speaking tonight but we'd like to recognize? Okay, we have our city councilman, David. Okay. Okay, and then I've been told that the Meals on Wheels representative is here as well. Can we see a hand here, the county, or the Meals on Wheels? What was your name, ma'am? Gonzalez, Ms. Gonzalez? Thank you for coming. Okay, well, before we go any further, again, kind of like if you were in a theater, let's turn off those cell phones, if you don't mind. And please recognize the fact that we're in this collectively together. It's not a right or left or, we're just here to try to fix our problems collectively as a whole, as a collective group. Okay, that's the whole objective. Okay, so it says here, from water shortages, limited job opportunities, quality education, rising property taxes, and the rapid pace of growth affect our families, our farms, small businesses, and our future. So, before we go any further, questions are highly encouraged, but we ask you to politely wait till the end of each section. Okay? Okay, so to break the ice, because at this point, we're looking at this kind of serious. It is, but let's break the ice, okay? So one day, there was a moose out in the forest, and it was a sad situation for this poor moose. One of the reasons was because he never had a name, was never given a name. And, his friends out there, you had Rocky Raccoon and Bambi and Rudolph and Fred the Fox, Smokey Bear. They all had names, but this poor moose didn't. Well, as the days went on, one day here comes an owl, and he flew in, and he says, of course, who's that? And of course, Rocky Raccoon said, well, that's a sad situation. That's our friend, and he never got a name. Well, if he never got a name, what do you call him? Well, we just call him Anonymous. Okay. All right, please join me in welcoming Karen Seal, the Medina County Chair and Attorney at Law. Okay.
I just wanted to welcome you all today and thank y'all for coming. I think this should be a very educational, and we've got some program, and we've got some excellent speakers here to give you good information. And please, we've been passing cards around to get you to to write your questions out as you think about it. At the end of each section, again, you'll be asked to, if you stand up if you have questions, and ask them, so that we can maybe begin to find answers and learn more about what's happening in our county. So once again, welcome.
Okay, so let's get started here. This first topic has to do with water, data centers, and a demand for electricity and water. And I guess there'll be a slide. And we're going to start it off with a retired pharmacist, environmental activist, and water planning committee for congressional candidate Santos Limon. And this will be Mr. Russell Seal. And you have 10 minutes, Mr. Seal.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for being here. My presentation was a whole lot longer than 10 minutes, so I'm really shortened it down. so hopefully I'm going to just key in our other speakers that are going to be the real experts on this. My background is families here from Castroville. Gabe Sherhart would have been my grandfather. Live on the Medina River since 1983, so I'm still considered a newcomer back since I didn't go to high school here. But I did work on environmental activist for many years, Sierra Club, watched all the legalities go through that formed the Edwards Underground Water District when all those things happened. But we don't have time for all that. So let's go to the next slide. And just talking about Medina County, and we don't have a pointer here, but on this, the only thing I want to point out on our slide is we have two different watersheds, and I think most people don't appreciate that, is eastern Medina County is the Medina River Basin, western in the Uvalde is part of the Nueces River Basin, and they have the Nueces River Basin all the way down to the coast. Our river, Sarah, starts, and we have their representative here, ends at the Bear Medina County line, and the Bear Medina Atascosa Water District jurisdictions ends at the dam. Go to the next slide. My daughter really helped me a lot. The presentation that we don't have time to talk about, but as she put together this wonderful timeline that gave me lots of new information that I didn't know about. Starting off with, where did the name Medina River and Medina Valley come from? 1869, Alonso de Leon, who was the governor in Coahuila, Mexico, named it after his map maker, Pedro Medina. And goes back that far. The Medina River originally flowed all the way down to the coast. Didn't get changed at some time to the San Antonio River. San Antonio River was originally a tributary, and now the Medina River is a tributary. Don't have time to talk about this, but I do want to talk about Cross Hill. And everybody, I'm sure, has been up on Cross Hill and knows about it and been up to it many times. Our original settlers here evacuated during floods to Cross Hill. We need a much better historical marker talking about those events back in that time. And there's a little something that talks about it. It was rededicated after, I think, 1870s in one of their floods. Have a whole lot of stuff in here that my daughter put together, and we're going to move on and keep on going. So, everybody knows about our population growth, but from 1970 until now, in 2023 was the latest I can find. Maybe one of y'all can tell somebody what our new population is now. Does anybody? I'm sure we've caught maybe the county. 52. Yeah, this was the estimated number that I was able to find. We can move on. I don't know if y'all can see last week's map. We are, even after all of the floods, we are still in the bullseye in Texas of the drought. Maybe the next slide will show it better. Yeah, last week here, even though we got all of that rain here earlier, a number of weeks ago, I got 4 inches at my house during the storm that killed 13 people in San Antonio. Still hadn't changed our condition. Go ahead. This is a graph of Medina Lake that she found or put together, going back from the founding of the lake in 1914 through 2014. And I just found that very interesting that especially during the 1950s, from we were full 1934 until when I was born, and finally got filled up again right after I was born. And year after year, these droughts, I don't know what's happening, but all my droughts end with a flood. Picture Medina Lake now. That's what I like about Medina Lake. That's me from a long time ago. And my grandson right there, who is now graduated from his master's degree. So it goes back a while. Just show this slide of the canal system from Medina Lake. I'm not going to go to their website, but from what I understand, when they do flow water through the canal system, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they have normally in good times 40 to 50,000 acre feet they get to release from Medina Lake when they have water in it. That's a rough estimate, but from what I'm seeing, they lose upwards between 50 and 70% before it's opened up to the irrigators. So I think they own up, say, 50. The Save Medina Lake Coalition is claiming that they're losing 70. A lot of work has gone on to take care of that canal system and upgrade it. And San Antonio, let's go on. San Antonio, they had a 0.25% sales tax. It was spending a whole lot of money here in Medina County. And in the last mayor of San Antonio, he stopped that sales tax and spending it on workforce development and VIA. And it helped San Antonio, but also helped us a lot, paid a lot of farmers and ranchers to put conservation easements on their property, put a lot of development and stuff of dams on the karst feature, especially in the northern part of the county. A lot of good work that sales tax took care of. During those meetings, I heard they were going to replace that money with something else, but as far as I know, that money's never been replaced to continue those programs. On this slide, there's just so many different agencies dealing with water in Texas, that these are just the few that have here in our local area. Most people don't know about the Medina County Groundwater Conservation District. Everybody knows about the others, but that is just dealing with groundwater that is not Edwards water. The Leona gravel has 2 different formations in it, and it's actually, with permitting of 18,000 acre feet, it's a fairly prolific system. And probably with the river as low as it is, it's a concern, but a lot of us are pulling out of that formation, not just farmer irrigation. My hay farmer, his permanent well dried out, but all these other old wells and stuff, we're all very concerned about that right now with the river level the way it is. And maybe somebody who knows more, I just read it in the paper that I don't understand how Hondo can be considering a desalination water from Corpus. I mean, just that topic gives me the impression that Hondo is getting a little bit scared about water situation. Let's go on to the next slide. Everybody knows about the Edwards. 500, somebody help me, 27,000 acre feet, something like that. Medina County permanent around averaging 90,000 or more acre feet is most of where our drinking water and our water uses and our irrigation water is coming from. The thing is, when we go into stage 4 and 5, it is severely cut back. And so our concerns are, and I know that you've given a good thing in the newspaper on where the water is coming from on the data centers, is they got to buy up 1.5 times what they're using from some farmer rancher or somebody else in the Edwards who has a permit. And I hope we'll hear a lot more about that. But it's a cap we have on water. The Edwards Underground Water District formed from the Sierra Club, starting the Sierra Club lawsuit, but more on the endangered species, but more from the catfish farm. 36-inch diameter hole when we had right of capture, they drilled, and I hope everybody's seen the pictures of it when the water was coming up, shooting 30 feet in the air or more. They were draining it into the Medina River. Basically, it got shut down because they didn't have a discharge permit. That opened everybody's eyes. The lawsuits really stopped, and we got the legislature to give us an underground water district, which has helped a lot in managing the thing. And I feel we're in better situation than the 1950s, but it's still very scary. Let's go on some more slides. Wow, we got a lot of different water utilities. And our mayor is running the East Medina County units, 6,000, 2,500, 1,300, maybe another one in there. But San Antonio water system is really dug in into Medina County also. Let's go on. So here's our questions. We got the new housing developments, the data centers continuing drought. Let's go to the next slide. And some of possible solutions. Comal and Guadalupe County have started denying permits unless they come up with the water. So my understanding is a new subdivision, normally across the United States, about 1,000 acre feet, or let me get this wrong, the decimal points. San Antonio per household, San Antonio is doing much better at 280 per house, and I probably got the acronym wrong on that. But that San Antonio's housing population is much poorer. All of these new homes are a lot wealthier houses, and across the nation, wealthier houses are using more water. And I don't know if we're taking that into consideration. I understand we've got an aquifer storage and recovery unit going to be happening. And let's go to the next slide. Just found out about the South Texas Regional Water Plan. It was released on March the 3rd to be voted on in October. Covers us all the way down to the coast. Everybody can see the map. Like to know this 1,170 page document. A lot of demographic, a lot of good stuff, information in this. People need to be looking at it. We all need to be looking at this plan. And I know you have probably been heavily involved in this, and we would like to know, one thing is public comment about it. It's kind of not on a lot of people's radar screen that this process is going on. Let's go to the next slide. And this is just information purpose that Sarah Sarah is the representative authority of this planning document, but they're meeting in the SAW's offices. Let's go on. And if there's any questions, we'll just hold them to the end because my time is now up. So.
I think that's my water. Thanks.
Mine's down there.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Seal. So we're going to open it up for any questions. Are there any questions for Russell Seal? And if you do, just come on up here, and you've got your mic right here. Individual. Okay. Yeah, if anybody has got any questions for Mr. Seal? Okay, go right ahead. No, you do. You're going to talk. Well, let's press on because you'll be talking here in a few minutes as well. Okay. Okay, let's press on then. Our next area is environmental advocate. We got Mr. Peter Bella. Okay. Oh, let me just introduce you here. He is a former natural resource director for the Alamo Area Council of Government, lead organizer for March for Science in 2019, and environmental advocate.
Thank you. So thanks for having me out. It was my pleasure to sit with y'all in the front couple of rows here because when I spent time at ACOG, I got to know a lot of folks who serve their communities, and really work on behalf of their citizens. And it was a good reminder to sit with y'all and understand some of the challenges that I know you face. And so as it says, I was also on the steering committee for the Climate Action and Adaptation Plan by the City of San Antonio. So while I'm going to talk about water, I'm going to talk about it from a very, very different perspective than I think you'll often hear covered. And that is, I'm going to talk about climate change. Next slide, please. Now this next slide has a couple of bullet points, as it were, that are the takeaways for people who are not familiar with what climate change is and why climate change is a problem. Main takeaway here on these slides is the idea that climate change is getting more and more dynamic. We're getting storms, and we'll talk about storms, that are more frequent and have a much bigger impact. And the key thing that people may not think about is when it gets warmer, air can hold more water. Could you roll the slide, please?
So it is not your imagination. Storms are hitting differently now, and here's why. I'm meteorologist Andrew Kozak with CBS News, and no, they aren't controlling the weather, but the climate, that's changing fast. Flooding isn't just more frequent, it's getting more intense. See, as the earth warms, the atmosphere warms too, and warmer air can hold more moisture. It's basic physics. So for every 1 degree Fahrenheit increase in temperature, the air can hold about 4% more moisture. Think of the sky like a sponge. The hotter it gets, the more water it can soak up. And when that sponge squeezes, it pours. That means heavier rainfall, faster flash floods, bigger impacts. And we're seeing it everywhere. New York, Texas, Vermont, Europe, Asia. This isn't cloud seeding. This isn't some covert operation. It's climate change, and it's playing out in real time. But here's the good news. The more we understand it, the better we can prepare, adapt, and protect the people and the places that we care about. Because weather is changing, but we don't have to be caught off guard.
So again, the idea that we love our communities. I was born and raised in San Antonio. It's 20 miles away, and it's 2 hours if you have to get on 90. But we love our communities, and we want to know, we want to understand what we need to understand. And this is key. Next slide, please. Quickly, climate change doesn't make weather. Climate change makes weather worse. Climate change, with that loading the atmosphere with water, means it's going to change things. Weather in Texas was 7% wetter on July 4th than it was before the climate change warmed that part of the state. So that's a technical analysis. And you may say 7%, well, that's 7%. But the real point is that that's growing. The heat is growing, and the storms are going to be more frequent and intense. And I would say And believe me, folks, this is not me being lighthearted when I say we should have known before Kerrville happened. We should have been prepared. And I know I've got emergency management in the room. Man, I get it. Again, I come from ACOG. I get it. That it's very difficult to just do the best you can and do a great job when something new like climate change comes along. Could I have the next slide, please? And if you'll click that little button on that GIF, there you go. This is what the National Weather Service Station put out 5 days before Winter Storm Uri hit in 2021, 7 days before we got the worst temperatures of Uri. 7 days. And we almost had a blackout. Next slide, please. We had historic low temperatures across the country. Next slide, please. And people died. We should have done better. And again, I'm not faulting anybody. I know we're only human. But we need to do better, don't we? Next slide, please. 2 years later, record heat. San Antonio had 75 days of temperatures at or over 100 degrees in San Antonio, setting new records in extremes and duration, more intense and frequent. Over 300 Texans died from the heat, the most since the state started tracking such data. Next slide, please. And, you know, I'm sure we all have a heavy heart. Next slide, please.
Go from here, both with today's rain chances and especially Thursday into 4th of July Friday. This particular computer model has been consistent on bringing some really heavy rain, but that said, it's kind of out there. It's an outlier on how much we could see, but it does show the potential of what this tropical air mass could do for us. All right, let me stop rambling. Let's get into it. This afternoon, there's that scattered rain and storm chance, especially during the heat of the day before it settles down later tonight. The crux of the forecast is going to be what happens with the remnant low pressure system after it's done moving northwestward along the Rio Grande. It's going to try to make a turn towards the east and northeast thereafter. If this happens, we have a storm system essentially right on top of us with all this tropical fuel in place. Not only are we looking at a few rounds of heavy rain and storms on Thursday, but some of that could linger into Thursday night. Friday morning, some slow-moving downpours, having a hard time moving because they're so close to this spin of low pressure. It's not until this is starting to settle towards southeast Texas late on Friday afternoon and evening that we'll start bringing our rain chances down. Now, if what I just showed you is something to be believed, we're looking at some incredible tropical rainfall totals. I hesitate to show you this because it's so outlandish, but what I just showed you is producing 5 to 15 inches of rain somewhere in central Texas. Again, I think that's pretty far-fetched. You can't rule out something crazy happening when you have this kind of tropical air in place. We'll have to watch for it just in case, but the more sensible solution of what we get in the bucket is going to be anywhere from a ½ inch to up to 3 inches of rain, somewhere along or west of I-35.
Next slide, please. So the takeaways that I find with this, kind of twofold. One, the idea it's so outlandish. Maybe it was, but it happened. And the idea, the more sensible solution. We all grow up living our lives, learning lessons from life, and we think we know a lot, but it's when we get in a pattern and we expect the past to teach us about the future. Sometimes we're wrong, you know it? And this is one of those cases. Next slide, please. This is an editorial that was in last Sunday's San Antonio Express News and the Austin American Statesman. Texas magical thinking won't stop world's warming. Next slide, please. So I won't read the first 3 sentences of the editorial, which is what you see there. But the idea is that because there's a special session where they'll be considering thoughts, what to do next about what happened in Kerrville. And of course they should. My point remains, you gotta be thinking about new ways of dealing with what we're facing in Texas. And I consider climate change to be at that core. When they discuss extreme weather, flooding infrastructure, alert systems, emergency communications, relief funding, and disaster preparedness and recovery, they will be talking about climate change. Next slide, please. From a meteorologist out in College Station, a professor out there at A&M. Again, climate change, the heating of the atmosphere, you're adding water to the atmosphere. You're gonna get heavier storms. And that last quote is what really catches me. The idea of the heavier storms because it's getting warmer. This actually is one of the oldest predictions in climate science. It was made long before it was seen. Climate models were predicting this. We should know this. We should know this, and this should be part of our planning and part of our understanding that the future is going to be different than the past was. Next slide. Next slide. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Okay, wow, that was very good too. So we're going to go ahead and try to get all the speakers that are dealing with water issues, and then we're going to open it up for questions. Okay? So we've got David Hernandez from the San Antonio River Authority. Okay, did you? San Antonio River Authority, or Sarah.
Good evening. It is my pleasure to be here this evening to talk to you about water quality. I'll be talking to you about the water quality monitoring that the San Antonio does in the Medina River watershed, and some of the assessments that are made as a result of us doing those water quality monitoring events. I'll also be talking about where you can go to find additional information about such water quality, and also some of the things that we're doing to either maintain or improve water quality throughout the watershed. Next slide. So I wanted to first start with just giving an overview about the San Antonio River watershed. As you can see, the San Antonio River watershed is all of those areas that are colored. It extends from Bandera County all the way down to Refugio County. You see 4 counties that are bolded here, which is Bexar, Wilson, Karnes, and Goliad. Those are the counties that we have jurisdiction over. But our watershed does extend beyond those counties, and I think it's actually 15 counties that it does extend into in total. This map also shows the different areas where our water quality and monitoring team is deployed. They go to these different areas throughout the watershed, usually 4 times a year, sometimes a lot more frequently. And they go in there to collect water samples, to get information to see what the water quality levels are in those areas. Also, in the Medina watershed, so the next slide. So focusing in on Medina County, as someone mentioned earlier, the watershed is the San Antonio River watershed is pretty much on the northeast part of Medina County, and that is the Medina River watershed. And you see some dots there. Those are the monitoring sites where we partner with the Bandera County River Authority Groundwater District to collect samples at those different locations. Some are actual surface water samples in streams, and some are samples that are collected in Medina Lake. And those samples are collected, we collaborate with them, we work together with those teams to do biological events, which is an assessment of all the biological related activities and critters that could be at those sites. We do fish surveys, we also survey for the bugs that are in that location as well, to get a good gauge as to what the water quality levels are in there to support aquatic life. So the next slide, please. So when we go out there and we collect all these different samples, all this data, we have data that is biologically, ecological type of data. Then we also have data that is chemistry based. We do have a water testing laboratory at one of our main offices at the Euclid Center there in downtown San Antonio. And our lab will process those samples, generate that data. I am with the Environmental Sciences Department, and I'm in the data management team. So my team and I, we look at that data, we make it available to the public through different platforms, and we also collaborate with the TCEQ, the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, to send this data to them in the formats that they want. So once we get that data, we compile it, and we send it to the TCEQ. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with something called the Texas Integrated Report. That report is done every 2 years, and the TCEQ gathers data, water quality data from throughout the state, and they use that data to assess the uses of this water or these streams for a variety of uses. So, for example, here on the map, we have Medina Lake, which is in green, and green pretty much indicates that there are really no, all of the uses there are fully supported, which means that there's really no concern or no impairment water quality-wise. Then the other ones, the rest of the Medina River that you see there, some of those are in orange, some are red, and those are broken down into segments that you see here in this table. So we have segments like 190305, 04, 03, 02, 01 with different lengths, and those are assessed for either primary contact recreation use, aquatic life use, general use, and they make these assessments based on the data that we collect to determine whether they are supporting those uses or if there's a concern about some type of water quality aspect for those uses. So as you can see here, the 1903, 03, 02, and 01, the last three rows on this table, they have a primary contact recreation use designation of NS, which means non-supporting, which means that the bacterial levels at these, in these streams are higher than what they should be for primary contact recreation. So in that regard, you know, we then look at these values and determine what are some things that we can do to try to bring this segment of the stream into fully supporting of primary contact use. The same thing applies with aquatic life use and general use. You see CN and CS, and those pretty much means that there's a concern for those particular uses for those segments. And in 1903-05, which is the highest one, the one immediately south of the Medina Lake, that right there, it runs for 43 miles, and that is, there's a concern for aquatic life use for that particular segment. The other ones, we see concerns for general use, and those are mostly for nutrient levels that may be slightly higher than what they should be. So that right there is pretty much an assessment of the water quality for the Medina River watershed based on the TCEQ integrated report. Now the next report will be in 2026. Each report has data that spans over 7 years, and they use that data to make these different assessments. Next slide, please. Now, if you are interested in wanting to know more about water quality anywhere in our watershed, we do have a water quality viewer on our public-facing website that you can access, and I just wanted to real quickly walk you through that so you can see how that works. So if you click on the link, that will take you to our main website, and on our website, on the upper right, you'll see maps and reports, and you can click on interactive maps. You'll see different products here available to you based on what you're interested in. So here I'm going to demonstrate the water quality viewer, so you can click on that, and you'll see this, this product pop up, which shows, once again, the areas that we've monitored. These are color-coded based on current. data, historic data, recreation data. You can click on one of those dots, and when you click on one of those dots, on any of those, you can then click on the lower Go to Station button that will take you into here and give you information about different water quality parameters. On some of these stations, they might have a lot of historical information, so you're able to access that as well through this platform. But if there might be some stations that don't have as much information, but you'll see that as you navigate through the process. So I wanted to at least just give you an overview of this particular product so you can explore it. If you are interested, you can also download the data. If you want to crunch the numbers on your own, you're more than welcome to do that. You can do that through the data download options that we have there, okay? So we can close this. And then we go to the next slide. Another tool I wanted to show you real quickly is this one, which is the USGS National Water Dashboard. I'm not sure if maybe some of you might be familiar with this product, and this is a pretty neat product because it shows, you can close there, it shows all the different types of monitoring stations that the USGS has throughout the country. You can zoom in on Texas, you can zoom in this particular county in there, and as you do that, you can click on some of these dots to know some information. So if you click there, it'll give you, this is surface water stream, this is discharge, this is the flow at that point, at that time. If you close that, you can do the same thing with other dots. Even if you hover over this, you can see some information pertaining to this, and it'll give you, I really like about this, it'll give you a real quick summary of how that number compares to historical values. So I think this is a very, very neat tool that's out there and it's available to anyone. You can also select, if you click on USGS stations, it gives you the option to view additional things that they collect. If you want to look at water quality, you want to look at precipitation data, you can do all of that through this tool. You can see how there's something pixelated down there, that's the weather. Typically, when I use this, I'll go into weather conditions and I turn it off because I am pretty much just, sometimes it gets in the way and it might be a little bit too busy. So I'll just turn that off and it's a lot cleaner. But I wanted to make you aware of this tool that is out there that you can use if you are interested in some of these gauges that might be close to you or an area that you're interested in. You can definitely use this tool to get that information. Okay, so we can close it. Close that. Okay, so to wrap it up, so what else are we doing to improve or maintain water quality in our watershed? Besides monitoring programs and efforts, we're also looking at some ecological and biological things that we're doing in the river. For example, we are reintroducing some mussels into areas of the San Antonio River. Mussels help filter the water and clean the water eventually. Of course, you need a lot of them to do that. But, we are reintroducing some of these mussels that some people were not even aware that were there. So we're doing that. We're also doing some stream restoration projects. Some of you might have heard of the Mission Reach Restoration Project that was completed a while back. We are currently working on the Westside Creeks Restoration Project, where right now we are in the design phase of that project, but we're collecting a lot of data to be able to assess pre-restoration and then post-restoration conditions with the hope of the things that are being changed and improved will eventually improve water quality, such as the introduction of native vegetation, which then will attract additional bird species and just improve the ecological uplift in that area. We're also looking at implementing nature-based solutions throughout the watershed, such as bioretention, cisterns, bioswales, permeable pavement, that help slow down stormwater runoff before it hits the rivers and our water bodies, and try to clean that stormwater runoff or capture those pollutants before they hit the creeks and rivers. We also have an environmental investigations program in place where if somebody notices an environmental incident of concern, we have a form on our public-facing website that you can fill out. And once you do that, if you include your contact information, somebody from our team will get back to you. Now, some of those concerns, we may be able to help address those concerns. On some of them, we might be able to direct you to somebody who might, or work together with other agencies to help address that concern. And the last thing we do is we also have a lot of public outreach where we are promoting just good practices to maintain a clean and healthy water system. Next slide. Any questions? But I know those will come later. Okay.
It sure was. Thank you. Yes, so again, to recap, we're going to now go to the mayor in just a second. And I think after the mayor, that'll pretty much do it as far as the water issues. And then we're going to open it up for questions, okay? So let me introduce the mayor, Mr. Bruce Alexander. He's our third speaker. He is the Chief Executive Officer of Castroville, responsible for the general welfare, policy making, and ensuring laws are enforced. Mayor Alexander.
Thank you. All right. I don't have a slide presentation. But 10 minutes is not enough for me to tell you everything. Real fast, and I just got to tell you really quick where I come from. I spent 25 years with the city of Castroville as retired as a director of public works. The last 17 years I've managed East Medina County Special Utility District, rural water system. I serve on the Edwards Aquifer Authority Habitat Conservation Committee, representing all municipal permit holders west of Bexar County. I have done so since 2007. So we're currently working on a new HCP updates. As someone said earlier with the EAA, the creation of it was through, basically through a Endangered Species Act, federal lawsuits. That never really went away. In 2012 or 13, when we got an incidental take permit with U.S. Fish and Wildlife, it kind of set it aside. And that's permits up for renewal in 2028. And that's what we're working on right now. I serve on the SAWS ASR Advisory Committee, so I'm familiar with their ASR project and how they use that. Also in Medina County, we created a Medina County Regional ASR alliance, basically, with all the municipal, or excuse me, the public water systems. I got selected for storage and recovery, kind of like what they have in San Antonio, where they have the storage of when good times they pump the Edwards water into an underground storage vessel, and then they were able to recapture it during droughts. We're trying to work one out to get one here in Medina County. Kind of looking forward for future supplies. When we have surplus of our permits, we can store the water for future use. That's what we're working on. What else? I'm the immediate past president of the Texas Rural Water Association. So we represent 900 water systems, rural water systems throughout the state, of which Castroville's one, East Medina's one, Yancey, a lot of them here in Medina County. So we kind of work on that too, on water issues. So I mean, I can give you a whole long list of my issues with water, but let me jump around a little bit. Like I say, the EAA, let me answer that one really quick on the Edwards Aquifer Authority. The desal that Hondo is getting into, Castroville has also, and I believe Lytle. Nueces River Authority has a proposal to build a desal plant and down around Port Aransas and provide water up this way for future. The City of Hondo, City of Castroville, City of Lytle basically bought into reserving capacity of that program. That project may not be up and running for another 6 or 7 years, but these utilities are forward thinking in trying to look for future water supplies. Because as you know, the Edwards Aquifer, by law, there's a maximum amount that can be withdrawn. And because of the critical stage cutbacks, literally, you can't withdraw that amount. Because when the aquifer is full, generally folks don't need DALP. But as the levels drop, they're cut back accordingly. And you're right. A stage 5 restrictions, which happened for a couple weeks here this year, is a 44% cutback on the municipal, industrial, all on everybody pumpers. The ag are a little different because the ag, our restrictions are based on what stage they were in when they planted their crop. But municipal industrial users are restricted right off the bat, and it's prorated for the year. The last 2 years, the Edwards has averaged about 36% cutback, 35 to 36% cutback on the utilities. So, for example, a utility system like mine, we have to pay management fees on 2,000 acre feet, but we only get to use 1,300 acre feet of it. So it makes the utilities have to go out and try to lease more water or buy more water, which brings me to the data centers and other development. East Medina, like Castroville has this too, but we established it 20 years ago in a subdivision ordinance that requires new development to bring water rights to the utility. Basically, the developer must acquire by purchase and then donate them back to the utility so they have the water rights to be able to pump to sell them the water. So the utilities are protecting themselves. Now, there's water rights available out of the Edwards for sale. I mean, it's a commodity. But sooner or later, that will stop. But the utilities are always looking for that here. So that's why we have the proposed ASR project for the future. We're trying to look ahead to secure we have enough water supply. East Medina, our rules require any development more than four lots or more must provide us 1 acre foot per lot. Commercial development, like a data center, they must provide us 1.5 times the acre foot needed for the development. So, for example, you had on your screen Microsoft and Rowan. Rowan is the development down towards Lytle. That is in East Medina's water service area. East Medina has struck a non-standard service agreement with them where they're doing a lot of upgrading our system at no cost, and they are providing us all their water rights based on their estimated demand, with the understanding that as they use it, we track it, and if they go over that estimate, they have to provide us more to get more. Same thing applies with Microsoft, what we're doing, and I believe Yancey's doing the same thing, but the different amounts are based on the utilities. We have some of these folks came to us first off with water-cooled equipment. We've been very active, and I know Scooter with Yancey too. Is no, there's not the water here to support that. We need you to move more towards air-cooled, which of course changes to a greater electrical demand, but a lot of times they work with electric companies, they build new substations, new transmission lines, things like that, but because we're limited in the amount of water. When 5 years ago, when somebody came to me, they told me 600 acre feet for one site, and I said, no way. We got that down to about 50 acre feet. We feel pretty good about negotiating that down. But there's still, but let me use a comparison on that. 100 acres for a data center, 100 acres and a data center on 100 acres using 50 acre feet of water. That same 100 acres can count 200 houses on it. 200 houses are going to use 100 acre feet of water. So which one uses more water? The dense subdivision or the one data center? Think of it like that. So, I mean, I'm just throwing it out because all we do is look at the water use. What else? Oh, I'm not against climate change conversations. I'm not. but I am going to make a comment that we need to learn from the past to move forward. What happened in Kerrville, well, very tragic, 22 years ago happened in Castroville. The rains that happened there were about 50 miles north of what they were in 2022 when it overflowed Medina Lake, and the city of Castroville was evacuated not once but twice on the 4th of July weekend. I know I stood in 2 foot of water in my public works building. 180 houses in Castroville got flooded out when the river went straight through that horseshoe. And the water path followed the exact same path that it did in the 1903 flood, the exact same path. So I'm not questioning the climate change and the severity, but we also have to look at the history on what's happened, and I know emergency management looks at that because that storm could have easily settled south. The good thing for us is the lake was empty, so it would have been good, but it is what it is. Okay. They do. People have short memories on some things like that. Even in the Kerrville area, the Comfort area in 1987, mid 80s, the big floods and took out the bus full of kids. So the patterns. But climate change is real. I'm not criticizing, but you also have to look at the whole picture. Okay. Water quality. Let me talk to you about water quality. The city of Castroville discharges into the Medina River their wastewater plant. That's all they do. What happened? Okay, they discharge into the Medina River. But what people may not know, City of Castroville has the most stringent water quality requirements of almost anybody in this area. And they volunteered those. They were proposed a permit for discharge which was 10 times cleaner than the river. And when public opinion pushed back, the city of Castroville conceded or agreed to even do more treatment. So the city of Castroville's discharge permit actually cleans the river. So not everybody can say that, but I can say that because I know I was part of that. Okay, okay, well, we try, okay? But the quality is there, obviously assuming everything's working right. But they try. But I know they put it all down there now. They moved away from irrigation and put it down there, but it takes a lot to do that. So I just wanted to bring that up too. What else? Have I touched base on enough with water things? Water. Population growth. That's an interesting one. I can only speak to Castroville in the fact that I've lived there I started working for the city in 1983, and I'm a drug-in. My wife is born and raised there and lived there all their life. The family is, but up until about 5 years ago, city of Castroville didn't have a whole lot of growth. Was kind of like just, we heard for 20 years, it's coming. Well, it's there. It's here now. It kind of worked its way around from the northern part of the county, and now it's coming out Highway 90 in there. There are subdivisions under construction that will triple the size of the city population-wise when they're built out. Ma'am? Take more water. But again, those developers are required to acquire those water rights and get to the city. And the water rights out there, it's a commodity like everything else. And there are landowners that market their water for sale. And the price is constantly changing, increasing. It's a law of supply and demand. And then what happens, unfortunately, is as the developers are required to acquire water rights, then you turn around to the utility systems. Scooter and Yancey and East Medina are the largest rural water systems in the county. Our cost goes up with that because we have to pay that rising cost. When EAA first started, water rights were going to $1,000 an acre foot. Wow. Then it went to $2,200 and it stayed there for a long time. Then there was some development in San Antonio and somebody paid $5,000 and it jumped overnight to $5,000. Now it's going for $12,500 if you can find it. Am I pretty? I mean, 15. Okay, and it's because not only the data centers but other developers they pay that cost because they built it right into their development costs and move on. And then it kind of affects us on a utility side because we have to have water rights, so we have to meet the same prices, which causes our rates increasing and things like that. But the Edwards Aquifer is the only water area that's not subject, or at least that I know of, that's not subject to the rule of capture. It's interesting when I talk to other utilities around the state, and they're dealing with people pumping and water levels going down, and they're saying, what do we do? How do we do that? I said, well, you're talking to the wrong guy. We've been regulated by Edwards for 30 years, you know. They don't quite get a grasp on that, but I know it's pushing that way towards others. I'm sorry, I'm just, but you take Saws. Saws has a Vista Ridge project. They go to Burleson County, they pump a tremendous amount of water and bring it back. Saws has a desal plant. Saws has ASR. They're bigger by scale. They're the largest EAA permit holder. But they also have to be able to diversify. And that's what we're trying to do by grouping our resources. And the county's working with us on this too. I didn't want to leave you guys out. They helped give us some seed money through some ARPA funds and start out. And anyway, everything's good. We are working through that. I believe Mr. Mangold with Yancey sits on the Region L group, and I know that in coming back with our alliance, with our ASR alliance, that we're part of the plan. We're trying to get involved in that, and our goal is to seek funding through the Water Development Board. Just real quick on funding on water projects, you know, everybody voted for that $1 billion a few years ago, and $250 million of it was dedicated for rural water systems. Now, this November, and I don't know if you've heard much about it, there's going to be another one on the ballot for the state to put $1 billion a year for the next 10 years into water, new water resources, and a certain amount to fix infrastructure, so we can try to resolve some of these water issues, because it's an issue all over the state. There's a group, for example, in East Texas trying to build pipelines to move to Georgetown and to other cities. And so water's a big issue across the state, trying to get everything going. And there's a lot of programs working. I hope I made any sense.
And thank you, Mayor. And I do apologize. They're probably going to have a lot more questions for you, so that's what we're going to do now. We're going to go ahead. We passed out some cards, I believe, so you could write your questions. So then what you want to do is come up like Gina did right here, and you can ask your questions to any of the individuals that were here that just talked previously. So we'll go ahead and open it up now, and this is Gina. And Gina, I already forgot.
Test.
Yeah, you okay there?
Yeah, I think I'm good.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so here's my question. I'm gonna try to explain this. So
are you,
I'm sorry, I'm Gina. I live off of Petranco in the newer subdivisions, and it's really, really crowded down there. If you've ever driven on Petranco heading towards 211, okay? So if I go out of my development and I go to the right, there's a data center. And if I go to the left, there's another data center. And if I'm on my way to Hondo, I pass another data center. So I'm like, what in the world is going on with the data centers? They're popping up all over the darn place. And I hear they use a crap load of water. So what is, as a homeowner, I'm just very concerned about what is that going to do to us. I don't know a lot about water. I'm learning a lot about water. But just as a typical homeowner, what do I have to be worried about? Is my taxes going to go up? And do I have to compete for water with those data centers? Who gets priority? Do they have priority over the homeowner? Like, how does all that work? Because a lot of my neighbors are talking, and we're all kind of worried.
Okay, I'm going to answer you the best I can, and you may not like my answer, but I'm just going to tell you the way we look at it. Oh, everybody wants to see me. I can tell you how we deal with it. The data center is just a large commercial development to us. It's just one customer, okay? If they meet the requirements for understand that water utility, there are 3 requirements to meet to obtain service. One is the property in your service area. The service area being a CCN, which is a service area boundary defined by the state. 2, have they requested service? 3, have they met the requirements for service? If all 3 of those answers are yes, then we have an obligation, legal obligation to provide service. In the area, we all know they are. Requesting service, yeah, they generally come to us. Meeting the requirements for service is a little different. Meeting the requirements for service a lot of times mean what level of contribution you're going to be to make our infrastructure improvements to provide the service. And then give me the water rights. I'm not going to turn the water on until you meet those requirements. I've had some say, well, I'll just give you the money for the water rights. No, I don't want your money. I want the water rights. Well, what if I can't find them? Well, then that's kind of like your problem because that's a requirement to obtain service. A data center to me as a water utility is just a large commercial customer. And I probably pretty much said to you too, if you think about a data center or even a large commercial development on a large acreage, not always, but depending on how they work through, and they've been very receptive to working. While people may not think so, they work with I know they've worked with Yancey. I know they've worked with us in trying to minimize a negative impact on anybody around them and meet the requirements for service. So when I say they're setting on, I have one down here in Lytle that sits on almost 400 acres of land. You realize how many houses can be put on 400 acres, okay? And how much water I just told you, an acre foot per lot. 2,000 acre foot versus 100 acre foot. The demands are a lot greater on these subdivisions in many cases than they are on one data center. I can't answer to that one because I'm just a water boy. I do know that, for example, in East Medina, Special Utility District, and just so you know what our service area is, we touch Castroville, Coste, Lytle, Natalia, Divine, and back up towards Quihee. So that's basically the southeast part of the county. And I think the last time I checked, there's like 6 different tracts of land that are proposed, not developed, but proposed for future type businesses like that. So I don't know. I can't answer you what the draw is. That would be better off to the judge or the commissioner Sittre.
Property. You must serve them all. Obligation by law.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to have the county now give us.
Question?
Yes, just
May I
a
ask-
second. Yes, but let's have the county give us their input on what they're looking at, and then we will come to your question.
Okay.
Okay?
Larry Sittre, County Commissioner, Precinct 2, Castroville area. For one thing, on the subdivisions, this here is a book they handed me when I got into office. Larry Sittre, Medina County Commissioner, Precinct 2, Castroville. This is the book that was handed to me when I first got in office 16 years ago. It's 2,000 pages of reasons we have to service subdivisions. There's not one page in here that says we cannot serve you. So with that being said, there's 2,000 pages, and since then there's been a bunch more pages added on, like in Castroville. If a subdivider don't like their plans, they just pull out. They come to the county, they finally figure out they don't like what Larry's got to offer either. So then they go back to the city. So we got some right now, they're going back and forth. But anyhow, and thank you, Miss Hill, you asked for this thing on these subdivisions, and it was handed to me by the judge's secretary the other day. It's an impressive list of subdivisions, and it starts at 2015. 2015 was the creation of Precinct Ranch. When I got into office, the prior commissioner said, Larry, we have just okayed a subdivision up on Precinct Road. It's 350 acres of trailer houses. There are going to be 185 trailer houses. There are going to be 185 water wells. There are going to be 185 septic tanks. I was on my desk when these developers came in and talked to me about that subdivision. I said, is there any way we can do better than this? He says, what do you want? I said, I would like to have a higher end subdivision. I would like to have a private gate. I would like to have a reuse water sewer treatment plant. Well, about 6 months later, they came back. That subdivision today is the first reuse sewer treatment plant in Medina County. It's the first subdivision in Medina County that ever had a TERS and a PID. That's how we got this thing put together. A lot of people on the subdivisions, almost everything on Precinct Road, I don't know what subdivision the lady lives in here. What subdivision do you live in? Boy, you got a beautiful subdivision. That's a PID subdivision. Precinct Ranch was the first one. Precinct Oaks is going to be, there's another development right east of y'all is going to be a replica there with the same builders in it. It broke ground day before yesterday. What that PID does, the developer came in, he asked me what I wanted. I said, I want gates. We want wider streets. They got 42-foot wide streets. They got walking trails. They got a 35-acre park. So we get this PID, and we put it all into there. And then they came back and said, okay, we're going to do some infrastructure here. What do y'all want? Said we need $1.5 million for a fire station. So they get us our $1.5 million. Yeah, exactly. A public improvement district. Okay, what that public improvement district is, where she lives in them subdivisions, they wanted a gate, they got the gate, they got the parks, they got the walking trails, lots of walking trails. That PID pays for all of that. You living on the outside of that PID 2 miles down the road, or the chair horse back there down on Berry Lane somewhere, you don't pay nothing for that PID. These people living inside this development pay for their own PID. But Precinct Ranch, the way that thing is building out right now, in 2026, their PID is paid off 14 years early. The TERS that they have put on there to pay off the fire station that we just built on Petranka Road, that came from Petranka Ranch TERS. I love using both of them. We do in the county use the TERS if it's going to be a thoroughfare through the highways or somewhere it's going from one end to the other. Today we have 3 sewer treatment plants, one getting ready to come in Petranka Road. Scooter is reusing the water. Them things today, every house in there, he sells them the fresh water and he sells them the reused water. These people are putting 60% of the water used on their yards. So we're saving, every single house in there, we're saving 60% of the water by reusing that water. And it comes out of a 5521 plant. If you don't know what that is, it's the same type of water that they're putting back into San Marcos Springs at 5 million gallons a day. Going back on the data centers, I don't have one data center in Precinct 2 that runs off water. They're all air-cooled. All this other stuff, these people say, well, look at them big water lines. You would never believe the fire suppressants they got inside those buildings. Each one of these buildings is 250,000 square feet each. And there are fire plugs every 400 or 500 feet. A regular fire, the whole thing is nothing but fire plugs. That's where, you know, and their condensation that they're putting back into the sewer treatment plant now is about 250,000 gallons, scooters, at 250,000 gallons a week, a month. 250,000 gallons of water coming off the air conditioner is going back into the sewer treatment plant, and that is going up to feed lawns also. So all I can tell you on the subdivisions, and the Commissioner's Court has backed us all the way on this thing, Petranco Road has financed Medina County for the last 8 to 10 years. We built new jails, we built new courthouses, we built up the Sheriff's Department, we have built up every division we got, and I'm gonna let Keith talk on that here in a minute, to what our budget has done. It's this, when I first got into office, the road department had to borrow the Sheriff's Department money to make it in the payroll. That's 16 years ago. Compared to this year, I think we're about a $62 million budget. We got about $15 million reserved in the bank, and we see if these data centers coming in, we're going to start seeing our tax rate go down. Because I pay taxes just like everybody else. As far as the subdivisions are coming in, I got the first mud thrown on our lap last week or 2 weeks ago. In my district, what a mud is, they go to the TCEQ. They know a lawyer better than me, or more lawyers than I do. They get all this stuff run through TCEQ. They had it stamped with the TCEQ. They brought it up to Commissioner Court. They throw it on my desk and says, there, you got a subdivision. Totally out of our hands. This has got to stop. It's got to stop. You know, it's just, luckily this thing, I had rejected it 3 different times when I talked to the developers. It's a bad place for a subdivision. It's bad soil for a subdivision. And I knew we weren't going to stop it this time. But they did come back. It is going to be $700,000 to $800,000 houses. It's going to be on 1.5 acre and 2 acre lots, which is a good thing for the county. It's just our political, I call them political bribe. That's what it is. We're being bought out. There's going to be something coming up on the ballot, and it's going to be tax funder paid lobbyists. That's the biggest crock you've ever heard in your life, people. All I'm telling you, don't vote for it. What they're doing there, they're silencing us to going up there and fighting them on these laws, on these unfunded mandates for all these subdivisions we were wanting to put in. They had a proposal this last year, and Keith said it failed, to come into a county, like joining Bear County, and put a house on a 1,400 square foot lot. 1,400 square. Just what kind of house are you going to put on a 1,400 square foot lot? Once they get below 399 square feet, they don't even pay taxes on them. They're tax-free. That's why a bunch of these counties we got up north, Gillespie County and all of them, have banned the tiny homes because they're all 399 square feet. Pay no taxes on them. They don't pay any taxes on the house. All they pay on the property, on tiny home. Anything under 399 feet is not taxed. Yeah, they're not. That's not what they're telling the people down in Devine. But anyhow, like I say, on the tax rate part of it, I'm not going to get in the tax rate. I'm going to let Keith do it. I know he wasn't on your agenda. I'll give him 5 minutes of my time. He has worked 3 months on this, and I think he got the final numbers out for us today to tell you what the taxation is of the people in Medina County and all the surrounding counties. You got 5 minutes for him?
Can I ask a question first? Yes,
Shoot.
So, water. I haven't watered my lawn now for the last 2 years because if I do, it's going to cost me an arm and a leg. I'm retired. I've been retired since 2013. My income doesn't really go up. Social Security doesn't go up. Neither does my retirement pay. So I can't afford the water, and it keeps, when you keep building houses and they keep taking our water. That makes our water price go up. The less water we get, the more it costs.
Okay, my answer to that is, right here on this list that Ms. Hill had us pull up, as of last week, we looked at 5,500 homes since 2015. 5,500 homes. And I'm telling you, 2,500 of them are using reused water right now. And the next thing is, you go into Bear County, they're building hundreds of thousands.
My house is not, my house is it's on Geneva. It's back past the post office.
Well, you need to move one of my new subdivisions on Precinct
I
Road.
can't afford it. I'm retired.
Yeah.
I'm
Bruce won't-
retired.
Bruce
I
will
can't
never miss you.
afford it. You know what they said to me when I
Bruce won't miss you.
No, let me tell you. Because my property taxes keep getting higher and higher and higher. And I said, I kept fighting it. For after the fourth year I fought it, they said, we're getting sick and tired of you fighting your property taxes. And I said, well, you know, I'm doing it. And they said, you should be happy that your house is worth that much money. And I said, well, you know what? I'm not selling my house. I'm living there. I'm retired. I'm living in my house now. And if I sold the house, where am I going to get the damn money to buy another house?
Precinct Road.
Bull tweet and daffodils. I don't have that much money to buy another house down the road.
All I can tell you, we got a house for everybody over there, and they got some garden homes over there. I'd love to live in one of them.
You sat and talked to my brother for a half an hour before you were elected. And it's because you sat and talked to him that I voted for you. But I can't.
I will tell you this on this, because I actually told the appraisal district years ago, okay, I don't want to be morbid, but I said, I'm going to die in my house. I could care less if it's worthless. They said, what about your kids? I said, I taught my kids to be independent. If they're waiting for me to fall over, they're in trouble. It's the people that buy and sell houses that raise the rate.
That's it, exactly.
So,
Right, and I'm not selling my house.
I'm not either, so I'm with
But the taxes keep going up. The water when you run out of
my own personal house this year went up 32,000.
and when the water
32,000.
rates keep going up because you keep building more and more houses because they keep taking more and more of our water, we're going to end up with all these houses.
It's a big glass. Medina County is a little bitty part with 5,000 houses we added since 2015. Bear County sucks out the same hole we do. So it's not the houses we're building in Medina County. It goes from here all the way to Austin. That's where that Edwards water goes to Georgetown. So from Uvalde to Georgetown, that's where it goes from. That's all one big glass of water.
So you're saying it doesn't really matter. Let's
With a whole
move
bunch of
everybody
straws in
from Bear County out to Medina County like
headed
they're
this way.
doing now?
They're headed this way. The worst part about the whole thing is, in a couple of our last commissioners' conference that we went to, I went to a San Antonio building convention in San Antonio, and they had this great big light come down from the ceiling. And about every 15 minutes, that light would get smaller and smaller and smaller, zeroing in on this big map. Do you know where that zero in ended up? Petranco and 211. In 5 years, that could be the Mecca Center of the United States.
A friend of mine, Charlie Cease, used to.
Doing very well. Doing very well. Yeah.
Okay.
Doing well. I've been here
Charlie's
my
the
whole
one
life.
that got me to live here.
Yeah, my whole life I've been here. I got people up there from 1844.
Okay, Charlie's the one that
Married
got
up
me to live here. And he says because it's so easy to get back and forth to work because I worked with him.
Them days are over with. It's sad.
Well, you're not
It's sad.
kidding.
It's sad.
Now
Yeah.
when I go to a doctor's appointment at Lackland,
Keith, would you want to tell
I
them
always
about
tell
about
them
the taxes?
afternoon because everybody's moving out here.
That's it. We got all our doctors headed that way, everyone we can. We don't go to San Antonio no more. We got kids living close.
But you're building all the houses for them to move into.
Ma'am, we cannot stop them. Like I say, this book right here proves I cannot stop them. 2,000 pages of it. We got Miss Seal here. She wants to go through this. It's the Texas Government Code. It will tell you we cannot stop you from coming in Medina County and building a house.
So, my name is Becky Convery. I'm a Medina County Democrat. I'm an environmental lawyer and land use lawyer. I work for the Air Force. And so a lot of questions have been raised, and I understand the need or the desire to increase the tax base, the real property tax base. You have high-end residential paying a lot of money, paying for improvements. I guess one question I have is, what improvements? You have the PIDs for residential. What are the equivalent improvements that are being paid for by businesses that are coming in? So like the highway improvements, who's paying for that? The state? The
It's
taxpayers?
not coming out of that PID.
I know it's not coming out of the PID, but what I'm saying is you have a desire to build high-end subdivisions. And that's great. It pays for improvements, et cetera. But there are environmental consequences to that, in particular related to water. You may be reusing the water, but you have huge homes, 4 or 5 bedroom houses with 3, 4 baths. There is a way to control that. You may not be able to stop the subdivisions, but that's what comprehensive land use planning is for. And I've worked on climate mitigation strategies in Florida, at the University of Florida. And so my question is, what is the city and county doing to control use of water quantity? And I'm suggesting that the only thing that you're doing is if it's building high-end subdivisions, that's not doing much for water quality when every single
Number
house
one,
has a pool,
the
et cetera.
counties cannot zone or regulate. The only thing we can zone out of this whole book here, all 2000s, is airport. That's it. We have authority to zone around the airport. We cannot zone or regulate in no county. The cities can.
And so that's a question, right? So in other words, you can do things to decrease water use. Building high-end subdivisions is great, but I know for a fact they've built all these high-end subdivisions out in Concam, for example. They're using groundwater. All of their wells have gone dry, but every house has a ginormous pool. So that's my question is, high-end subdivisions are great, but first of all, what happens to affordable housing? You discourage tiny homes. Tiny homes use less resources.
Okay,
right?
affordable
So-
housing, I agree, we need some affordable housing in the county. My secretary needs one. There's no possible way, much as this ranch land from Medina River back to Bear County, much of it's selling to $80,000 to $3 a square foot, $120,000 a square foot. You can't build nothing tiny or affordable on $120,000 acre land. At that time, I'll pick up a commissioner from Atascosa County somewhere and said, hey, I got you a customer coming down there, and they're building some affordable housing down in Atascosa County where they can buy land for $10,000 an acre. It's just the price of land has driven up so high, there's no possible way you can put an affordable house on it.
I understand. I'd love to hear what the mayor has to say about what you're doing on comprehensive land use planning and what the state's doing with regards to comprehensive land
Let
use
me
planning.
answer a question real quick about water. All municipal permit holders that can withdraw water from the Edwards, basically all water utilities, we all have a withdrawal permit. Edwards Aquifer Authority, by rule, enforces pumping restrictions based on the level of the aquifer. It's up to each individual utility to establish their rules and regulations on how they meet those requirements. Some folks, SAWS, has a great ASR, they can supplement it. So a lot of times they're in a lesser stage than we are. Some utilities, through management practices, don't do as much enforcement on their route restrictions, but every water system also has a drought contingency plan that stipulates to those various stages and what their cutbacks or restrictions are, water restrictions, this and that. But not everybody has the means of people or resources to actively enforce it until a lot of times they get to the point that, we're dangerously close to violating our permit. So now all of a sudden we go and really quickly and try to enforce. I'm saying that because I'm familiar with at least 2 utilities that have the enforcement, have the restrictions, but again, don't have the people, I guess you want to call them the water police, going around enforcing it. If there was maybe a change in approach where more of the public utilities did more active enforcement on their water use restrictions, maybe that might address that. But that might help that.
Yeah,
But
quick
yes, ma'am.
follow-up, Mayor. So for the commercial development,
Yeah.
they're required to acquire the water rights to provide for the acre-feet of water that they intend to use or that they plan to use. What happens, so you've acquired water rights, but when you can't pump enough water from the Edwards aquifer?
Okay.
So that's my question. So in other words, I guess I'm looking at this from, we're looking at high-end subdivisions and they're paying for lots of improvements for lots of things.
Right.
So when you have commercial development, why aren't they doing the same thing?
That's all right.
So in other words, if all you're requiring them to do, and I know this isn't you, I don't mean you.
Yeah, no, I understand.
But if all they're required to do is buy the water right, but you can't pump that amount of water from the aquifer, then what good is the water right? Why aren't we requiring them to do what we're requiring high-end subdivisions to do? Just as an example.
As far as recycling the water?
As all the improvements that they should be providing to the community, so our resources aren't taxed. All they have to require is a water right.
Okay. They require the water rights. They give me the water rights that I have to pump to charge them back my retail water rate. And everybody has what they call conservation rates. The more you use, the more it costs. It gets very, very expensive very quick on those high-end users. Okay, so they're conservation-based rates. Sliding scales, for example, going up. And I can give you an example of the Microsoft project out here on Highway 90 where they did all the site work. They had to lease 1.5 times their water rights needed for that project to give to me to sell them. And the first time they got the bill, they said, whoa, wait a minute, we want a wholesale rate. I said, no, we don't do wholesale rates. It's a retail rate. So it gets that on that too. So they're just a customer like anyone else. But Edwards Aquifer has a limit to a maximum amount of annual withdrawal. Unless, when the aquifer's full, unless somebody just lets it run, it's extremely, almost a 0% chance you can ever pump that full amount on an annual basis. And that's what those cutbacks are designed to do. So for example, we're in stage 3, 35% cutback right now.
Well, this is the point that gets all homeowners going. All this stuff is great, but when you get continuing notice that we have to stop all outdoor watering, we can't use our water, we have to cut back. You're trying to tell me that they purchased the rights to build those houses and they're going to supply the water.
They're subject.
Where does it come in there that they start sending out notices that they're cutting my water off? I can't water my yard. I can't put water in my swimming pool.
Okay.
But you can build more houses. That's why people get a little,
Okay.
how does that all work?
Each utility sets the rules, their own rules on the cutbacks, on how they enforce that. Excuse me. And any new development or new house, let me put it like this, they're subject to the same restrictions you are. They may have given me, as a utility, 100 acre feet, but they only get to use 65 of it because of the fact they're subject to the same cutbacks as anybody else from day one. Just because they provided it doesn't mean they get the exclusive right to use it all.
You're selling more rights than you can provide.
I'm not selling rights. People are, there's landowners all over Medina County that own water rights that sell them to utilities and commercial development.
Okay, so they bought the rights for that subdivision where I live, and now there's a cutback, and I can't use the water that you say they bought, and now, where did we get
The water, your limitations and restrictions on the use of water are the limitations placed on your water provider. So whoever you're buying the water from has water restrictions because the water utility has to produce it, has to pipe it, has to do all these. They have built-in costs, and they're subject to the pumping restrictions enforced by the Edwards. And in order to meet compliance with the Edwards Aquifer Authority permit, they install pumping use restrictions or surcharges for overuse during drought. Utilities do that to manage it. Okay?
Okay, so
And
we
let me-
go without water so you can build more houses.
Well, I don't think have you been without water?
No, we can't use it though. All
You-
we can do is what's minimal use in the house. We can't have any extra.
You're restricted on land irrigation and things like that. That's
Right,
those,
exactly.
those are restrictions placed on your utility, and I would forward you back to your utility.
But still, in the reality of the situation is, you're telling me that the way this is all done, they have to buy water rights from somebody before they can sell me a house in my subdivision. And now that that has taken place and I own the house and I'm living there, they're somewhere down the line now, they're saying we can't water anything outdoor. We're getting restricted and you're building more houses. This is just the reality.
Let me ask my question, and my question will hopefully define, what people are worried about.
Okay,
And doesn't affect me because I drill my own well.
Okay.
Yeah, I have cutbacks and stuff too, but I don't use a lot of water, but I got the expense
well,
of
on your,
maintaining my well.
do you have an Edwards well or a shallow well subject to
It's
the?
shallow.
Okay, so you're subject to the Medina County
That
underground
water district.
water
right.
district.
That's
Okay.
a different story, but it takes a lot of money to
Right.
maintain a well and pumps
Right.
and everything. But what the people are, everybody concerned about, and this is an honest question, I don't
Sure.
know the answer
Yes, sir.
to this, is there a relationship between all of these new developments and the rising bills people are getting? I don't think there is, but that's what people are feeling, that my water bills that I'm getting are going higher for a lot of different causes. They're seeing
Right.
all these new subdivisions coming in.
Right.
In your opinion, is there a relationship between all these new subdivisions and these higher rates?
I don't
Not higher rates, the higher bills people have been getting every year, the bills are getting more and more.
In direct relationship with development, I don't believe so. But as far as the rising cost of production, the rising cost of labor, materials, and producing the water, electricity, it's all a cost that's affected it. I could speak about my utility because every utility gets to set their own rate structure. Okay, in our utility, because we only do water, I'm not talking about the city of Castroville. I'm talking about East Medina. You have a basic that takes care of fixed cost. We have a cost for water usage per unit per 100 gallons that pays for the cost to produce and distribute that. We have a regulatory fee for EAA because they collect their regulatory fee on per acre foot, and then we have a small amount that we assess for water acquisition so we can go out and buy more water rights as people use more. That's our utility bill. And our board looks at it every year, and based on the rising cost of providing the service, they adjust the rate. That's the general rule. So I can't speak on everybody's independent. Okay. Okay, I'm sorry. Sir.
Basically, I was referring to a perception that you're dealing with.
Yes, sir.
Regardless what your answer is, that's the general perception that the public is going to have.
There's 1,000 people a day moving into Texas, 1,000 a day.
Okay.
I understand, sir.
The only other thing on water I want to point out,
Yes, sir.
I come from the hay business. I understand irrigation.
Yes, sir.
I go down the countryside and I see all my buddies out here with their hay fields, and they've got those rotating irrigation systems running
Yes, sir.
24 hours a day,
Yes, sir.
pumping like crazy.
Yes, sir.
And they got water just going everywhere,
Yes, sir.
rolling down the road, every place. And now we're telling we got to cut down our water. You see, those people on those big money ranches, doesn't appear to be any restriction there. That water runs 24/7. They're making money.
Right. And I understand that too, but all I will answer you is this, sir, is every Edwards well, be it irrigator, be it municipal, be it industrial, they're all metered. They're all reportable to the Edwards. Everybody that
So
draws.
everybody on one of them big
every-
divots out there has got a meter
Yep,
on every one of these divots.
if they're using Edwards water, anybody that's drawing from the Edwards Aquifer is subject to the jurisdiction of the Edwards Aquifer
Well,
Authority.
that's only in eastern.
And a permit.
You're probably in the Wilcox,
Right. If you're in the Carrizo, it's an unregulated. It's unregulated.
Yeah, there's no.
It's rule of
meter on
capture.
anything out
It's under the state, it's under the rule of capture. Basically, all the water you can pump onto your land That's the law of the land.
That's all I got on water, but there's other things. I'll be back.
David, please don't ask.
All right, David Merce, and don't worry, Mr. Alexander, this one is actually for Mr. Sitter.
Okay, good.
So
Good.
flee.
Go ahead.
Yes, and I give him a hard time regularly. The PID on these subdivisions on Petranco paid to build the neighborhood's infrastructure, their streets, their pipes, stuff like that. The PID is a one-time assessment, usually is a one-time assessment on those areas. You said it was paid off.
It's a one-time
14
until
years
that
early.
pit is paid off.
Yes.
Most of them are set up for 15 or 20 years. What happened on Petranco Ranch, they evaluated it on our amortization $250,000 house, and they figured they were going to take 15 years to build out 350 houses. Come to find out, them houses are selling for $450,000 to $800,000, and they sold out in 7 years. So the PID is paid off in 2026.
Excellent.
And then after that thing's paid off, whatever, now all the road maintenance, Medina County, Road Department, any new subdivisions, about 95% of them on this list, if they're in my district, we don't take care of nobody's road no more. They have a PID that covers it, or they have a HOA that covers it. So you don't have to pay for his road because he decided to live in a PID subdivision. It's a win for everybody.
So I think you answered my question, but I just want to double check this. The funding source for maintaining and replacing that infrastructure into the future is the citizens of that neighborhood.
Exactly.
No county obligation.
No county, the county is not even allowed in the subdivision. They put up a private road sign, we have to get special permission through the sheriff's department to get them in there to run traffic control. I hope y'all are doing that in Castroville. Because I'm telling you, you can't afford to fix them streets. You can't afford to fix what you got. You really, if you keep okay in subdivisions, and Bruce, you're the boss now. If you keep on putting in these subdivisions, and then you want somebody else to come fix your streets, that's a no-brainer. Why? You can't take care of them pavement streets.
In Castroville, I would say that, the people in Alsatian Oaks are paying into the general fund, which to the extent
it will not cover it, I guarantee you.
That's, I think, a major part of the reason that our taxes and utility rates have been skyrocketing in Castroville over the last 10 to 20 years is because most of our infrastructure got put in at one time in the 60s, and it, for the most part, has not been replaced.
Has not been.
A lot of it has been under-maintained.
Yeah, everything's been replaced.
Not due to poor decisions by the people running it, but just because they weren't given permission to do it. The rates were held low. And that's part of the reason why our costs are going up so much. It's not because other people are moving in. We're not paying to build the ones in Alsatian Oaks. We're trying to cover the costs of repairing the stuff we already have.
Exactly.
And I think the people in these neighborhoods need to be aware that they're going to have a huge increase in the cost of living in that neighborhood in about 30 years. And so if you're in one of those neighborhoods, please be aware that that is
on every one of our subdivisions on Petranco Road, on page 3, there is this thing there, you are living in a PID zone. Okay, and on top of that, after the PID is paid off, we're going to hand it over to the HOA and hope God y'all have somebody in there that knows something about fixing streets and roads, and that's going to pay for it forever.
But just as a fair warning, we've been having trouble doing that in Castroville. That was all I had to say.
Just show me one instance. I'd like to go look at it.
That we've been, one instance of something
where
we've been
they're
having trouble
have these
paying
problems.
for?
The thing of it is, once you get a developer to come in and put these developers in, it's on the developer's back. If that development goes broke,
no, I'm
he's
saying,
out everything.
I'm saying in our 30, 40, 100-year-old neighborhoods in Castroville, we've been having trouble supporting our infrastructure.
Yeah. Well, at least you'll have,
He's nodding his head.
You'll have
Someone back there is
funds
nodding
there.
his head.
You will have funds there to replace what you need to replace.
As long as they set their HOA dues high enough.
No, pit fee don't go away. The HOA is going to sell the fee. You want to go from 45 cents, or you want to go down to a nickel? If y'all want to come down and sit down and talk PIDs with you, I'd love to.
Real quick, I've got two questions, and I'll make them real simple. There's a South Central Texas Regional Water Plan. Are you familiar with that?
Yes, the county is involved with the regional water supplies. That's what
That's
the Nueces River supply.
It's the the South Central Texas Regional Water Plan that they're developing for the area. Okay? And it's more counties than just us. Region, exactly, Region L. Okay, my question is, how involved are we in that? We couldn't see a name on that list of anybody we knew in or around this area.
Mr. Mandel, the general manager of Yancey Water
Okay,
Supply,
good.
is on the Region L.
Okay, who else?
From around here, Roland Ruiz. Roland Ruiz with the Edwards Aquifer Authority, resident Travis Castroville.
from Nueces River Authority.
Okay.
Lives in Medina County.
Okay, so when are we going to find out about it so we can make comments? Because they gave it out on March the 3rd to the counties to distribute, and we're supposed to be making comments on our water plan, and we didn't even know about it. I mean, I'm sure there's people that do. What?
It's on their website.
Oh, good. Do you know how many websites are out there, sir? No, in all due respect.
I'm just saying.
Okay, but, and we have,
Monthly meetings.
yeah, okay, so when is the next meeting?
On the Region L, and Scooter may not like this, I'm gonna throw him under the bus.
Good, okay, go for it.
I would point you toward the GM of Yancey, maybe address any questions you have in Region L, and he can help guide you to wherever you.
The meeting, okay,
I
because,
believe so.
yeah.
Can you do that, Scooter?
because it's a huge thing, and we'd like to be able to make comments.
He's a big rep for us, and he helps us out with what we're doing in Medina County Regional Water Lines. He's helping with what
Okay, that sounds good. Okay, the other question I had is, where is the Flat Creek subdivision?
The which one?
Flat Creek?
Flat Creek is right here.
That's the one that's under construction out here north of Highway 90.
That's in Castroville.
North of Highway 90.
Yes.
Yeah, that's in Castroville.
That's good. That's what I wanted to find out. Thank you.
Yes, good evening. My name is Shael Lopez. I'm here representing the Hondo Empowerment Committee from Hondo, Texas. And I'd just like to say that, you know, it's hard to find justice when, you know, the rules are being made by crooks and criminals, you know, up in Austin, you know, because I know you pulled up that book and you said that you couldn't do anything about it, you know. I don't see how they can, you know, we're having 7 data centers here just in Medina County, you know, when we're in an exceptional drought, you know. Where's all the water gone? You know, and then I think that one of the problems was, you know, supporting fracking. You know, fracking took a lot of water from us, you know, in this area. You know, I think that's why some of the creeks and are all dried up, you know. And now we have these data centers coming in, you know. How can we, and I heard, you know, that even over here in the Quihi area, over here, some people didn't even have any water anymore. They didn't have no more groundwater, you know, because it wasn't raining enough, you know. A lot of deforestation going on here in Medina County. So how can we support this and have 7 data centers come in here, and then they're going to take all our precious resource, take all our water, and then leave, you know? And what are they going to leave behind? For example, what kind of chemicals are they using? How is it going to impact our groundwater or the aquifer water? What about air contamination? What kind of chemicals, you know, are they using? I know other places, for example, over there in New Mexico, Rio Rancho, Intel was out there, and those folks out there had a lot of problems with contamination and people getting sick and all this. So this is something to look at, you know, with all these data centers here, and I think they're going to deplete our water resource.
One thing I'll go tell you, Chevelle, in Precinct 2, I don't know about the other precincts. I don't have one using water to cool the towers. They're all using air.
I can tell you that too. Yancey, they get the water back off the coolers, back through the treatment process so they can recycle that water. The one that's going down in Lytle is going to be discharged into the Lytle's wastewater system, and that's an arrangement that the city of Lytle is working for that, for water resource. One that's contacted me as far as East Medina, we were early on about what discharge of their byproducts might be, and they said, And we've told them strongly every time they've got to go through TCQ for that. So you can't just pour the water on the ground. They've got to go through the environmental studies and all that too, because there's people downstream on the creeks that are really concerned with that. As far as their water use, again, as far as water utility is concerned, they're just a large commercial account. And if they meet the requirements for service, they get service. That's the short answer. And I understand the concern about the water use. When they first came to us, we were told almost 600 acre-feet of water a year. Well, we've got that down to less than 50 acre-feet of water because they've moved away from water-cooled to air-cooled.
Then,
So we're working on lowering that stuff.
and then the other thing is the desalination, you know, where they're bringing in, they're trying to build those plants over there in the Gulf of Mexico,
Right.
and bring that water in here, you know, but that's going to take a long time, you know.
Yes, sir.
Plus, also, it's going to, if you do a lot of desalination, it's going to contaminate the Gulf waters also, you know. It's going to impact, you know, the environment and the fish and the animals and
Right.
everybody around here, you know. So what are we going to do if we dry up, you know, and there's no more water and it doesn't rain due to the climate change that's going on right now?
I don't know. There's also some folks trying to, East Texas has more water. They're trying to export the water from East Texas to come to this way over West Texas. And it's a big issue all over the state. And I don't know how to answer it.
All right. Okay, we have one more question. Yes. Okay.
Actually, I have two questions.
Okay.
My first question, before I change the topic from water, is how are the golf courses in the county getting water? Because they have green grass.
I can tell you the Alsatian Golf Course owns water rights, a lot of water rights, and they irrigate with Edwards water.
And the other one, Brig French?
I can't answer that. I don't know, but they might. I don't know how far.
That's in the county, correct?
But I don't know how far San Antonio Water System's water recycling or water reuse goes. In Bexar County. So I don't know how far San Antonio's water reuse goes, you know.
Well, the
all the
Edwards
municipal ones-
underwater aquifer runs Bexar County and Medina County.
Well, all of the municipal courses in San Antonio are watered through reuse water. So I don't know how the Briggs is.
Okay. I just wondered.
Ma'am, I don't know.
But this question is for Commissioner Sittre.
Sure.
And I wrote it down so I wouldn't go ramble on and on. Okay, Commissioner Sittre,
Yes.
I'm Bertha Benedetti. We are in dire need of a recycling center in Medina County. Most cities in the county have recycling, so negotiating a contract with a disposable company should not be that difficult. Would you please commit to working on this project with the rest of Commissioners Court and provide us access to a recycling center located somewhere in the county?
We had recycling centers for a while,
Yes,
and
we
then
did.
people were separating plastics, bags, tin cans, and what have you. And then all of a sudden in Castroville, that all went away. The only other, we don't have we do have a semi-recycling place on 1343, and we have one in
The
LaCoste.
1343, is that recycler or is that a
They-
dump? That's a city dump.
No,
Where you-
it's no dump. They take plastics and they take metals in different bins. On 1343. Now, I think the one in actually LaCoste, they just put everything into a dumpster and don't recycle it.
Okay, and where do we get that information down so that I can verify and confirm and get like addresses, contacts, and things like that, so that I can access it? Now, do I have to live in LaCoste or do I have to live in?
That's for the county. We have recycling places in Divine. We have some of them in Hondo. We have one in Dehennis. 1343, that's what you're talking about, yeah. Yeah, you can dump metal there, you can dump paper there, you can dump everything there.
I guess the question is, do you have to be a resident of?
No, a resident of Medina County.
See, I was under the impression that 1343 was like a landfill.
No, we do not have any landfills in Medina County. Actually, the city of Castroville owns the land in 1343. Did you know that, Mayor?
Yes, I did.
You do own that.
40 years ago, 50 years, I can say 40 years ago, it was a dump. Okay, it was things like that. That changed.
And Pat Bronner is our environmental health.
Everything's pulled away. It's not a dump.
We have no landfills in Medina County.
It's not a landfill.
Okay.
It's a transfer station.
Okay.
So I need a contact person for that information. Okay.
They're open on Tuesdays and Saturdays on 1343. Saturdays only on,
Lacoste. Okay.
Oh.
I still need that contact person so I can get this information down. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to take just one more question, and then we're going to go to our last topic, okay? Okay,
No,
go.
it's not a question. I just want to make a comment that what's happening right here with all these data centers and all this development going on around here is nothing but environmental desecration.
Okay, thank you, sir. Yes. Okay, we're going to press on, and we're going to finish up for today with the Hondo Emergency Management Speaker, Mr. Mark Chadwick, Dr. Mark Chadwick. He currently serves on the Board of Directors as the Vice President for the Emergency Management Association of Texas. He has served over 36 years in law enforcement. Wow, good for you. Faith-based disaster relief, paid staff for the American Red Cross, and is the Hondo Emergency Management Coordinator.
Medina County. Yeah, I tell people, to me, titles don't mean a lot. I've got a lot of them. If you want to know about my titles, ask me later on. There's a good lady right there, Miss Linda, that she knows that very well. We've had some really good conversations on things. So, folks, I tell you what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you some highlights. I do not try and judge what other people are doing in other counties. That's not my job. My job is to take care of Medina County. So I'm going to tell you about the things that we have done and are doing on preparedness. I also am going to want to invite you to get involved. If you look at the Facebook page for the Medina County Office of Emergency Management and Fire Marshal's Office, you will see that I just put out an invitation, and I think the newspapers both have that, and you may be seeing something coming out on that as well. So let me give you the rundown on preparedness for Medina County, and this is regardless of what type of threat we might be looking at. First of all, I would be negligent if I didn't say this. We have county leadership that supports all of our emergency management efforts here in Medina County. There's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes. In fact, I tell people, and I was telling a gentleman here just a little bit ago, that if I'm doing my job right in emergency management, you won't know I'm doing it. So 95% of the stuff I do, you have no idea what I'm doing. But I can tell you some of the things that I know others are doing in this county. For example, let me tell you about our commissioners. Things that they do that relate directly to emergency management. And I think they need to be commended for it. All the drainage projects that they work on, the things that they do to try and help us mitigate. Shredding and removal of trees. We've talked about droughts here tonight. Do you understand that every tree that falls in one of our areas that the county's in control of adds to what's called a fire fuel load? Means it's more dangerous. Thanks to our commissioners and the concerted effort that they are continually doing, they are out there with crews all year long trying to mitigate that. And I am so grateful for that. The road improvements, the things that they do that help us across all categories of emergency preparedness, making sure we can get fire engines down the road, ambulances to homes. There's nothing more important than that and the work that they do there. There's a lot of close coordination that goes on between myself and the county judge. I'm going to sing his praise for just a minute. He held my position for 10 years before me. You don't understand how novel that is in the realm of emergency management. So I'm now the president of the Emergency Management Association of Texas. So I deal with emergency managers from 254 counties and thousands of cities. And when I tell them I don't have to educate my judge on emergency management, their eyes roll back in their head. And I don't. In fact, he knows more about it in a lot of cases, especially the things that have been going on here in Medina County, and we all get to benefit from that. Our emergency operation plans. So if you weren't aware of this, emergency operation plans are required to be updated every 5 years with the state of Texas through the Texas Division of Emergency Management. When I came on board here just almost 3 years ago, we switched into a new format. I wrote all the templates for our county. TDM, the Texas Division of Emergency Management, when they saw them, they liked them so much, now they're sharing them with all of our sister counties around us. So we are leading the way on planning throughout this region. Some of the options that we have for activating for emergencies, because I know that a lot of people have been concerned. I've been hearing a lot of things about sirens and different things, and so I just want to kind of give you a little information on that as well. Sirens, the thing you don't know about it is their actual name. The actual name of those things is Outdoor Warning Siren, OWS. They're only intended to warn people who are outside in close proximity to those sirens. You shouldn't even hear them if you have a house that's close by. My office is less than a quarter of a mile from the one that's right down the road from me. When we were doing the testing the second week of June, when we had maintenance coming through, I couldn't hear it inside my office. It's only meant for warning people out who are outside. But that's only this tiny fraction of what we have for notification systems. We have right here in Medina County, thanks to a lot of the work that our county judge did for years. If you haven't heard about it, it's the iInfo system. It's an opt-in system. It's where you can register to receive emergency notifications. I brought this QR code here tonight because I'm going to leave this somewhere. You come up here and you scan this with your phone. It'll take you to a site where you can sign up. We have almost 11,000 people in Medina County who have signed up and who receive emergency notifications from us on this. That's one option. We also have, after I got here working with the judge, we went through the process of getting an MOU through FEMA and the state of Texas that allows us to be able to send emergency notifications to every single one of these. I don't need you to sign up. How many of you live in or near Castroville that got a notice here early on this year about a law enforcement action that was going on Highway 90, said you might hear some bangs, please stay away from the area? Anybody in here get that? I sent that message. It went to every cell phone that was within Castroville. That's regardless of if you live there, you're driving through there, you're visiting from Europe. If you have a cell phone, you're getting it. Now, see, that's another option. That's another problem we have. If you have opted out in your phone, if you have gone online and you have learned how to turn off your emergency alerts, I can't help you. That's a personal choice. None of us in government can help you. If that's shutting the door on us, telling us you don't want to know if something bad's coming your way. We also use social media. I use my county Facebook page. That's why I want to invite you to go and look at that. A lot of times the cities will take the things that I post and they will repost them. The sheriff's office the same way. The health unit the same way, because we're trying to find more and more options for getting people notified when bad things are happening. We put a lot of work into the things that go on our website without trying to just overload it. The Medina County website, just the web page that I have for emergency management, we have a county interactive map that you can go to and you can turn on the different things and you can see the emergency service districts, you can see the school districts, you can see all that. We have a link to Drive Texas, which is where you can go and you can see any road in the state of Texas. It's controlled by the state. If it's got a closure, a slowdown, or anything else, any water impact. We have a link to Medina Electric Co-op, so you can see power outages. We have a link to ready.gov, which is a federal site that provides a lot of information on preparedness. A link to FEMA that is specifically for people who need sign language, so we take care of that. Links to the CDC, the Texas Department of State and Health Services. We do a lot of tactical planning. We work with a lot of the cities around here. Aside from being the emergency manager for the county, through agreements that they have with the county, I'm also the emergency manager for every one of the incorporated cities in the county. That means that all of us have one planning process. There's not different. We're all working together. Communications is always something that's being improved. The county's been doing a lot of work on that. I get the opportunity to get involved in that a little bit. We coordinate with all the law enforcement, fire, EMS in the county. We coordinate with the Medina County Health Unit. We coordinate with the Alamo Area Council of Governments. All of the emergency managers around this region I have on speed dial, and they have me as well. We added a deputy to my office here this year, which is nice because it's nice when you get one person and that gives you 100% improvement. And so we like that, and we're making good use of it. We do a lot of things with a volunteer program that we have, and that's what I want to invite you. If you want to get involved in emergency management, boy, do I have a place for you and time to do some things with you. We train our volunteers on a wide array of topics. When it comes to training, just to give you a couple of ideas on training, we have conducted in FY 2025 since October 1st, 20 classes, and we've trained 354 people. Those classes are free and open to the public. So you want to know about training? Please contact me. I'd love to talk to you. All right, I'm just almost finished. And so there's a lot of work that we do in cooperation with the state as well. So I say all of that to tell you this. Are we prepared for everything? Nobody can be. I'm not going to lie to you. And anybody that said they were prepared for everything would be lying to you. But I think that we are extremely well prepared. The worst thing we can do is focus on the last disaster. And unfortunately, in the United States, that's what we typically do. Right now, everybody's concerned about floods. What about fires? What about tornadoes? How about hurricanes? See what I'm talking about? Don't get so hyper-focused on one that we lose sight on everything else. And that's what my job's all about. I got to be concerned about all the hazards, and that's what I get paid to do. And I do it not only because I get paid to, but because I love this county and the people that I get to serve with. So that completes my.
Very well, thank you. Yeah. Very, very.
Those are my volunteers. Yes, so what she's referring to is we have two different radio clubs. One is the amateur radio operators, and the other is the GMRS. It's just two different kinds of radio systems. They're all volunteers. Two separate radio systems that blanket this county, over 100 volunteers, and they work with us on every planned event, a lot of exercises, real world disasters and responses. The backbone, I can't say enough about them. I love those volunteers very well. Miss Linda's got a chance to work with some of them. And if you want to know more about those types of folks, don't just ask me, ask her. She knows. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, yeah, are there any questions for the Emergency Management Director, Coordinator?
Yes, lots of them.
Well, could you just make them short because we are running a little over time here?
At the hearing, there was a huge amount of talk about radio communications with across Coast Guard, everybody else in these P-23 radios. How well is Medina County set up to communicate with everybody else?
Right, so what you're referring to is a P-25 compliance. It's a federal initiative that went into place years back. And I'm going to point again, thanks to that man right there, we have a communication system for our emergency responders that I wouldn't place it second to anybody in this area, because we have one that's called simulcast. The good thing about that system and the way that they've got it set up, we can have one tower go down and we can still communicate. Yes.
I said I wasn't going to comment because I'm not on the agenda, but you're in my wheelhouse. So Medina County, again, started this process a long time ago. I will tell you that, so we have a lot of issues still. We have a fantastic VHF system for our county. The new dispatch center that we have at the sheriff's office that's been open for about two and a half years, I guess we've been in the new dispatch center. We have the ability to talk to every neighbor. We have the ability to be able to patch. So, and I'll just use Bexar County. They're on a 7-800 system. So if you're listening to all this stuff, you're hearing all these things about all these different systems, which creates part of the problem. So most people out there, you're going to have a VHF system, and they're not going to have radios that can even operate a 7-800 system, for example. The other problem you have, if Bexar County drives out here, there's no antenna to talk to anymore, so their equipment doesn't work any longer. So I will tell you that we are a long way in our county towards solving those kind of issues. There's still work to be done. We have a federal grant that in all the cuts last year got cut out, but we have it's coming back again this year, $4.5 million grant that we're working on to be able to provide the field gears, so the radios in the cars and in the vehicles that will do all of the 7-8, the VHF, all of those type of systems. And then we also have a long-term plan to not only have the VHF, but along through TxDOT and systems that they have, we will also be able to have a 7-800 layer in here. So now when those people arrive from other counties, other states, if they're on the other type of system, we will have a way for those to do it. So if I have both systems, then at dispatch, we can patch those systems together. Literally, it's the push of a button, and it's like everybody's talking together no matter what gear you're on. So I'm going to tell you that Medina County is way down the road on those things. It's something I've been very passionate about for a long time. I've been a first responder a long time, but like sheriff's office and all those things, like safety, just all the things involved, I'm passionate about it, and we're headed down that road. So that would be radios. That would be radios first. We put a new system in. The new simulcast system is probably, Commissioner, help me, probably 7 years old, probably something like that. Probably roughly 7 years old when the county did that new system. Where we're at today, and now we're back to the growth issue, right? Along with growth comes other things we need. We need more. So right now we have a channel of law enforcement, and we have a channel for fire and EMS. We need to expand what we have into trunking, which means I still have it, but now I can have multiple paths in there. So instead of like having a channel, I can have 3 of each, which gives us the ability to manage different scenes, different things going on. So that would be step one. So step one is the radios. If you don't have those, you can't do any of the stuff. So we do that. The next round is to upgrade to trunking. And then the final piece would be to get the 700, 800 layer through what TxDOT's already started, but that would be another project. It all revolves around, at the end of the day, it is money and how long it takes us to get there, but it's the vision.
Just a quick question. I live off of FM 463, just downstream from the old Chicon Lake, the former Chicon Lake. On 3 different occasions in the 25 years I've lived there, we've seen that low water crossing sweep cars away. And on each occasion, there was no barricades on either side. You know, the first time you say, well, it happened. Second time is, oh, what's going on? The third time, you seem like we're repeatedly getting caught with our pants down. Luckily, nobody's ever died, but several people, everybody's had to be a high water rescue. So how do we get those low water crossings covered when we know these events are coming?
So I wish I had a crystal ball to give you a 100% answer. I can tell you that we continually work every day towards improving, and sometimes that's taking a baby step. Part of that right now is that we're in the process of updating our hazard mitigation action plan that's required by the state and by FEMA. That's a process that's ongoing right now. We identify those hazards, the threats that we have. We try to come up with some good, valid mitigation projects. We've got some ideas on that. We had a meeting here a couple weeks ago, I guess it's getting close to now, where we tried to generate some ideas to send to the legislature about what we think could be some real beneficial things. And some of the things that we put in there is the potential of seeing if the state will not come up with some funding for different areas in the state for the places that have the repeat low water crossing hazards, so that you could do things like the automatic signs, like you see in San Antonio, where you see Bexar County and San Antonio has a sign that when the water comes up on the road, the lights come up on the sign and it starts flashing, and in some places has automatic railroad arms that drop down. But a lot of this, it's going to depend upon what our state does for us. So we were trying to make sure we got them our best ideas.
I'm sorry, I got to give context because where's the gentleman that asked the question, that just asked? Let me tell you the difference between when I started in that position and today. One of the major things we have going on, 463 is a text dot road. When I got in, what's happened in our county, one of the fastest growing counties, we used to have 2 text dot locations, one in Divine, one in Hondo. They shut it down. We now have half the number of employees. We used to call them, they'd come out in the middle of the night, didn't matter what it was for. We could get them there, we could get roads closed, we could do all those things. Today, you can't even get anybody hardly to show up. It's no reflection on the local employees of TxDOT. They're limited on their resources. But we literally cannot get what we need done. I just had this conversation with our legislators in the last 2 weeks. And I'm like, because they're contracting all this stuff out instead of having people that live in our communities that are among us, right? Our people that get up in the middle of the night that go out and help with these situations. Those people aren't anywhere around. And so now you have a sheriff's department or a local police department that's taxed beyond already their capability. And we have a sheriff's office, a sheriff's deputy sitting at a low water crossing when there's other things going on. And I mean, at some point you have no choice but to leave it, even though we don't want to leave it. So that is really a state issue. And, you know, going away from local, I could get on my local control box and our local thing. We're our best when we're with our own people that we live and go to church with or whatever we do, right, every day. And they're getting away from that, and it affects us even at this emergency management level. It's during the winter storms, I went out in that position and went and escorted the TxDOT trucks so they wouldn't get run into, because they didn't have other people out, even troopers around, to be able to support that part of it. So it's some of the things that they've done, and the change is not a good thing, and it definitely is affecting us at the local level.
Okay, you go ahead.
Can I ask a question?
Okay.
Okay, I'll be quick. Okay, thanks for talking about community, because that's what it's about community. That's why we're having this event, because there's nothing like getting to know your neighbor, and hopefully somebody's going to knock on your door to warn you that there's an emergency happening in your neighborhood. I have a two-part thing. I have several questions for taxes, but we have no time, so hopefully we can have another venue and ask the questions that pertain to our taxes. But for emergency management, just quick, I'm thinking about fire. because my husband and I, we relocated from Pennsylvania here in 2023. It was the heat of summer was unbelievable. 4th of July came, and I was so worried that our house was going to burn down before we even got to live in it for 3 months, because it was so hot, and little rockets were going off before the 4th of July, and every mile is a fireworks station. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, I don't get that. So help me understand that. I know I'm an outsider. I'm sorry. I just don't
Sure.
get that, because I'm very worried.
Easy enough. So, if we, I say we, if the county was to limit the sales on fireworks, we have to meet certain conditions. We can't just arbitrarily do that, right? But let me say this to you. I've been here almost 3 years. You know how many fires I've responded to that were caused by a firework? So yeah, 0. I have not responded to one, other than we had a criminal mischief in the city of Hondo that
And I guess maybe
I don't want to
it's-
go into the exacts on it, but that had nothing to do with normal fireworks.
And maybe it's just from my experience, because in
Yeah.
my previous neighborhood, our house burned down because they had fireworks in their garage. And my neighborhood before that, the house burned down because fireworks were on their roof. And
Yeah.
so, and when I lived in California, that same thing happened. So I'm just
Sure. There's a lot of differences between states, though. I'll tell you some of the things that they do in the state of Texas is we do fire fuel load mitigation, we do reductions, we do all those kind of things. So there's a lot of differences between the states on that side. But like I said, in almost 3 years, I only know of one, and it was intentional. It wasn't something that was accidental. Legal use, we'll put it that way, legal use of fireworks.
I just want to say one thing about fire protection, and y'all are not going to like what I'm going to tell you. Okay? There's no state law that requires a water system provide fire protection, or a city. But cities provide them because they establish it by an ordinance. That's why they have them. But in a lot of the rural communities, a water system determines by themselves if they do it or not. Now, the county has rules that try to protect subdivisions by making sure there's fire protection. But if you're in one of those, great. If you're not, you rely on our emergency services district, right? I just wanted to make that point. So people don't misunderstand that if you live in an area where there's no fire hydrants, it's because they're not required to do them. Not everybody's required to have them.
Okay, we're going to wrap it up finally. But before we do, I forgot to mention that we do have Mr. Santos Limon here. He's a candidate for the U.S. House District 23, our area. And would you stand up so we can recognize you? Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. I'm sorry? I introduced her earlier. Yes, Ms. Gonzalez. Thank you. Yes. Okay, I guess that's it. Now, don't forget that we're going to try our best to have 2 more of these forums. Okay? So there'll be a lot of questions that weren't answered today. Hopefully they'll be answered then. Okay? Anybody else?
I am not surprised, but I am impressed. I'm impressed. Doctor, I mean, it's just, Judge, I mean, I'm just, everything that y'all doing for the community, even the folks, the citizens of, constituents of Medina County, all the questions were just perfect questions, right questions, and the answers, the elected officials had the answers for pretty much everything. I didn't catch any no answer. I mean, it was just, I'm impressed. I'm really, really impressed. And this is what Texas is all about. We are not from up north. This is Texas, and we take care of each other here in Texas. And again, and I just witnessed that here with with everybody here. The Medina County Democrats for putting this together, the elected officials for being here. It means a lot to the community. I met the county judge in Sonora, Texas, and he told me, Mr. Limon, where you've been, we know about you, but where you've been. And he goes, Mr. Limon, I want to offer you our county civic center, because our county needs a checks and balance here. So they're embracing. We need that in our state, and we need to come together and pull together in order to move forward. We see a lot of the population coming west from San Antonio. It is going to affect the Medina County, but it's us working together as a community, and then having the answers as a community is only what's going to make us go towards the future. So thank you, County Judge, for being here. Thank you, Doctor, for being here. Commissioner and everyone else, thank you all for being here.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Gonzalez, did you want to, she's from the Meals on Wheels, is that right?
Hi, my name is Sheree Gonzalez, like he said, the director of the Meals on Wheels, and we're having a barbecue fundraiser on Saturday, August 9th, if you want to come out and support. So we have received funding cuts of $112,000, went into effect October of 24, and then just the increase in food costs have given us a gap of $250,000. So that's what we're trying to raise funds for. If y'all want to buy a barbecue plate, or if you want to sponsor one of our clients or seniors who will get one of these plates, just let me know. I'll be in the back. But if there's anyone else that I need to connect with as well, that might help with grant funding, or just any who wanted to volunteer, just please reach out. We've got a good volunteer and good support from the community, so thank y'all.
Very good. Okay, we're going to end with another quick one here just to make you laugh, okay? So don't, yeah, okay. Yeah, I know, yeah. Yeah, I got a new pet, by the way, and it's not a dog or cat. I decided to get a termite for a new pet. Yeah, his name is Clint. Clint eats wood. Okay, that's it. See ya.